And probably we're going to start the session on hips. And and my talk would be I would be focusing my talk on the acetabular part basically. And
So you are a hip surgeon.
yes, a lower limb arthroplasty and a hip surgeon. So I'm going to unplug the hip session, and I'm Dr. Ashish Singh, and I'm fellowship trained surgeon from India and in the UK. I've done my fellowship from Edinburgh, Golden Jubilee Hospital, worked for Professor Beverland, and excellent hip fellow as well. Not pertinent for this case. I had the arthroplasty unit at Patna, and we navigate all my hips and knees. So I would be focusing on how to get the cup right, managing neglected acetabular defects, and pearls and pitfalls of operative techniques of uncemented total hip replacements. Now, we all should have an understanding that correct acetabular positioning is the key component element to success in total hip replacement. And incorrect acetabular position may lead to edge loading, dislocation, increased wear rates, ceramic squeaking, elevated metal ion releases, and polyethylene fractures. But I would like to coin a term, acetabular intelligence. Most of us here are very versed in doing hemiarthroplasties. But when it comes to a total hip replacement, we all are a bit apprehensive. So we think it's a rocket science. But believe me, you have to keep calm. It's not rocket science. So I'll be discussing about the acetabular component positioning in 5 steps, how to get there. My first and foremost important thing is to have the right position, right patient's position. And to have that, you have to make sure that you yourself are going to have a look at the patient position before you scrub in. You should not depend on your registrars. Make sure you have a look. Adequately, the patient has been immobilized and the pelvis is vertical. This is what is shown in the literature as well. Second is approach. Now, I am a hip surgeon. I operate with all the approaches. I do direct anterior as well, posterior, anterolateral. But the common saying, all approaches are good, just do them well. Second important thing is cup position, and we'll be discussing it under subheadings of abduction and anteversion. Now, these are two measures of cup position. We all are aware of it. And to achieve a proper abduction and anteversion, we need to know the anatomy of the pelvis. It's very important for all of us to understand the anatomy, understand the TAL, the transverse acetabular ligament. Over the past 2 days, we have been discussing, we have seen in the live surgery session, the cup has to be placed parallel to the TAL. So, what happens? Primarily, how it was evolved. How do we know that TAL is the correct landmark? These are some natural acetabulum is inclined at an angle of 50 to 55. And these are some important landmark papers by Lulick et al. Which suggest that abduction should be between 30 and 50 and anteversion between 5 to 25. And how to measure the abduction and anteversion. Now, we all have an understanding that the acetabulum cup should be parallel to the TAL. But it is very difficult for us to make sure that the patient is in the right position, and it is compounded by the potential for the patient to move intraoperatively. Now, how was the TAL discovered? It was in 2006, I believe, when Archibald et al. Was doing a study. He was doing some MR angiogram, and he incidentally found that the transverse acetabular ligament was roughly at an angle of 45.6 degrees and anteversion of 23 degrees. Fortunately, Beverland et al. In Ireland, he conducted 1,000 hip replacements where he aligned the cup parallel to the TAL, and incidentally the dislocation rates were very less. So what I would say, what everybody says, TAL would be an ideal solution. That is a patient-specific landmark that was easy to find, easy to use effectively, and it is independent of the patient position. But how do we identify the TAL? The question is, to identify the TAL, you should have a good exposure. And to have a good exposure, you should know where you have to place your retractors. Now, typically, Professor Beverland, he recommends to put one teardrop retractor inferiorly and one between 3 and 4 o'clock position. In posterior approach, you can very well retract the femur and you have a good view. You can use the Charnley spin, but it's not mandatory. And you have to align the femurs parallel to the transverse acetabular ligament. Now, if you have a look at this slide, it's very difficult for any one of us to comment on the correct angle. And it's very difficult for the human eye as well to comment on 20-30 degrees angle. But human eyes are very good in commenting things are parallel or not parallel. So if you have one viable solution, and if you identify your tal and you align your cups parallel to the tal, you'll be there roughly. And in terms of tal, we have to discuss the cup is retroverted, anteverted, or more deepened. Now, second important thing which comes into mind that in Indian scenario, we get patients who present very late, as you must have seen during the past 2 days. But Professor Beverland has also classified tal into 4 grades. So it was just not present in 0.3% of the cases. So it's a reliable landmark. Second important thing which we should have an understanding is the abduction angle. Typically what happens in Indian scenario, a company representative standing outside the theatre, he'll tell you abduction is a wee bit more, a wee bit less. It's not like that. You have to have an understanding. And you have simple instruments which just cost 16 to 17 pounds available in the general grocery store actually. And it's a digital inclinometer. This method has been validated in JBJS 2016 and it's a very reliable instrument. We just have to put it on the reamer and you get a rough angle. So these are all just guides. Now the benefit of tal has also been authorized by the navigation by Kamaldeep, and they say that if you align your cups parallel to the tal, you'll be roughly there. Now the important aspect is anteversion of males and females is different, and inner margin of the tal seems to provide the best bed for placing the cup in clinic safe zone. So tal is consistently present, patient specific, it is independent of patient position, it is easy to use and can be used as a rough guide to get there. Now positioning of the acetabular component using anatomical landmarks may reduce the incidence of dislocation, and cups outside the safe zone has problems of dislocations and wear. Third important thing, the third step which is important to understand is reaming. We have to have a look at the x-rays, make sure you adequately ream the medial osteophyte, go to the teardrop, because sometimes we take the reamer in hand and just start transverse deepening. Another thing that sometimes happens, especially when we are cementing our cups, is we cut the rim and just place the cup and we do not give pressure over the lateral aspect. The cup might turn. Sometimes we have done adequately perfect, but we have not medialized our cup, and unfortunately the cup, the superlateral margin is exposed. In uncemented cups, you can have about 30% of polo coat, which might be visible, that's not a matter. Importantly, this is a case which was seen by me. We have an hesitation of using intraoperative C-arms, which we should make a habit actually, because 10 minutes of time saved at least a second operation for the patient. The final tips which I would recommend, range of movement and impingement should be checked, implant fixation should be checked with finger pressure, and you should respect the local landmarks. Make sure you have adequate fixation, use your screws. It's not that you cannot use screws if you're doing uncemented cups. You have so many alignment devices available, use them as a guide to avoid gross outliers. And this is what we want to achieve. What needs to be considered: check pre-op x-rays, patient positioning, radiographic versus operative version, local landmarks, use guide only as a guide, use your brain, balance all the elements and you will be there. Some cases of cemented and uncemented THR. So remember, Riddick safe zone, tal is a reliable landmark, and it is the surgeon at the time of cup implantation that will decide the success of the outcome. So we'll discuss the questions after my second talk. So next thing which I will be focusing on is management of neglected acetabular fractures. So, as I have been telling yesterday, India is an incredible country with unity in diversity. We all understand this and we all are here, especially from other countries. But we do have some issues. We have issues of population burden. We have increasing number of road traffic accidents, usually high velocity, and affordability is an issue here. And neglected trauma, we usually have neglected trauma beats, and we have high burden of neglected trauma, usually in high demand patients. Now, neglected fractures of acetabulum, maybe we may term the term is like that present after 3 weeks from the time of injury. And most patients in this country or in my part of the state are usually young. Ideal treatment, we don't know, but internal fixation if presented early. These are some X-rays, the patients which we generally get. So what's the need for this study? As I told you, huge burden of neglected, ill-treated acetabular fractures, challenge for reconstruction, and osteosynthesis versus replacement. And as it has been said, rightly said by Mata, THR in these cases requires a major acetabular reconstruction. So I did a prospective study in which about 19 patients they are included in the study, and I have done 19 neglected acetabular fractures and done them with a special technique known as sandwich technique of impaction grafting. I'll tell you step by step what do I do here. Coming to the role of impaction grafting, the results has been encouraging, and what happens to the graft? It does get absorbed, and we do have good literature support for this. So in this study, we have about 19 patients, proper consent and everything was done, and what I analyzed, that stability of the graft is more predicted than the volume of the graft used. Most people, they put the graft, do a reverse trimming. But if you have a look at the literature, the smaller size of the grafts are irresistant to torsional forces, and they are not very strong. So what I do, I use a mixture of bone chips, cut the heads into slices. I put onlay chips, then slice, then chips, and then do impaction grafting. We have to contain the defect, impaction, and of course, a secure prosthetic fixation. Now, importantly, in neglected acetabular fractures, what I believe, we have to take care of the posterior column. Because if you have a posterior column, if you don't have a posterior column, you have to augment it with plate or have pelvis discontinuity. You have to have implant steady. So analysis of defect is very important. At the same time, graft preparation, the steps I'll show you. So a combination of large and small grafts is used, and I have my special, I cut the head into slices. Once I cut the head into slices, I use only grafts, put the grafts, then the slice, then again the grafts, then slice, and I impact it. So these are sequential steps you can see, as I have tried to put the graft, then slice, then again graft, and then impaction. I do not do reverse trimming. It's not recommended actually. And then you contain the defect and do a fine impaction. So at the end of the impaction process, the appearance should be similar to a cobblestone pathway. Something like this. Some illustrative cases which you should see. A case of neglected protusium with IT fracture. The head was used, and 3 years results has been 2-year follow-up with the Harris-Hip score and the SF36 scores are very enterprising. Again, I used this was a 66 gentleman where I used a cemented cup. So the results has been good. Of course, at the end of 3 months, I believe I did have some problems, but the graft incorporated at 9 months. This should be understood. This is a neglected fracture of the acetabular posterior column, and it was neglected for 3 months. 64 gentlemen, and point is, we had a lot of fibrosis, but at a single stage, I augmented the posterior column with plates and ultimately did a THR single stage, because it was, seeing this case, I was very unhappy because 3 months the head has been dislocated in a 64 years old male. So these are some post-op X-rays. Some very common cases, which is in my armamentarium, no column intact, it's a sort of pelvis discontinuity, waiting for about a year or so. If you see the CT scans, actually no medial wall, but same procedure, have a good exposure, 360-degree exposure, try to analyze the defect and take it from there. Now you see how much I have grafted the medial wall from the medial wall, and at the end of 2 years, 1.5, 2 years follow-up, the graft has very well incorporated and there has been no issues with the patient. Again, an illustrative case 4 you can see. In this case, we had to do a roof arthroplasty and the patient has been doing very fine. Now, sometimes we become more enthusiastic, especially when we start our work. Now, this was a young gentleman who presented to me with a fracture like this. So enthusiastically, I plated it. After some time, it collapsed. I've been a bit worried because I didn't know it was infection. I did an aspiration which was negative for infection, but I was still worried about it. But ultimately got a CT scan and did a secondary total hip replacement. So what I felt after my study, after 2 to 3 years follow-up, that in these types of fractures, you may just leave them at the moment and do a single stage total hip replacements. Again, a similar case, pelvis discontinuity, neglected, and the patient's not taken any treatment, they're just given skin traction and that's it. Now, sometimes we have problems like this, where it's a fibrosed, ankylosed hip and painful. And in these cases, a major acetabular reconstruction has been done. Now, as a part of my study, I evaluate my patients at particular intervals, make sure I study the acetabular component position, and according to Dee-Lee-Charnley zones, I classify the migration distance, and I follow a strict protocol for this. The results, 18 patients from 2014, and according to Paprocki classification, 4 were type 2C and 4 were type 3B and 10 were type 3A. Mostly, nowadays I've started using most of uncemented implants, and the functional outcome in my study has been very enterprising. The average time to weight bearing and full mobilization has been 7.2 months. That is getting back to work and riding a motorbike. So these are some. So radiological abduction angle has been roughly 43.5 degrees and the migration was less than 1.8 millimeters. Now the migration and radiological results are being done on a US FDA approved patch system, and average time of graft incorporation mean was 5.4 months. So what I felt over time, that average all patients are satisfied, and neglected acetabular fractures should be treated in a single stage, doing a primary complex total hip replacements. And I have reviewed the literature. There are favorable results with this, but at the end of the day, what I would say that I have got a short-term study. It's just 3 years, but the results are encouraging. The unique advantage here is I've got more bone stock available, and I'm doing some mechanical studies at the moment, but the sandwich technique does give more stability. I told you about the limitation. It's a short-term outcome. And what I would say, neglected fractures or very complex fractures should be left alone and do a single stage THR. So reconstruction of the hip center of rotation is an attractive option. I have not used any hardware cages, jumbo cups, and single stage next day mobilization. And it is very, very important to analyze the defect and make sure you have your columns in place, augmented with plates or whatsoever, or use a cup. That's it. Thank you. Any questions?
Any question from the audience? Then since we are waiting for the question, I'd like to ask you a couple of things. First, in your first talk, you told about that inclinometer. Is it available in India?
Yes. No, it's available on Amazon.co.uk.
Yeah, but they deliver in India.
Yeah, I got it delivered to Rakesh Rajput.
Okay.
So just have to go on Amazon.co.uk, and it is available in ASDA or B&Q anywhere. And it is validated by Beverland et al. In 2016 JVDS as well.
And you can sterilize it and use it. How do you?
Well, I don't use it. I just keep it because I don't need it. But you get sterile packets.
Yeah.
Just put it there.
Okay.
I mean, actually, when I was working in Beverland, he used to do that. So I bought it because it just cost 16 pounds.
Right.
So when I came back, I just keep it and.
Yeah, that looked quite interesting thing.
And
rather
it is
than doing the
validated.
navigation.
JBJ says also.
Okay. Any questions? Well then, regarding your talk on SWO fractures, you have used this bone grafting technique, which looks quite interesting and quite nice. What are your opinion if there is a pelvic discontinuity? Because a couple of cases you had pelvic discontinuity,
Yes.
both your columns were gone, and it was fast, so I could not see it. So, do you recommend using it in pelvic discontinuity also, or because pelvic discontinuity, ideally there should be a spanning fixation, either use a plate in one column or both columns, or do a cage, which is
See, yesterday you were commenting on a patient on somebody that what's the ideal time to wait. So I also try to wait for a year.
Yeah.
And most of the time when we open up these cases, it's all malunited sort of thing.
Yeah.
The X-ray, the CT scan, if you have.
No, that's a different scenario.
Yeah, but
that's a different scenario when it's united.
Yeah.
I'm asking you your opinion regarding whether you can use the same technique patients who have,
pelvis discontinuity.
Is there, or your study did not have any pelvic discontinuity.
In my study, I did not have any pelvic discontinuity, but if in case I have, I'll use cage or plates, augment.
What about there's a technique called as vestibular distraction.
Yes.
You distract the pelvis, and you pick a very large cup, and you can use bone grafts accordingly. Means it causes a compression medially.
Medially, yes. And we have special cone cups as well, which goes into the ileum, used in tumor prosthesis.
So the purpose of asking you this question is, this is a very good technique when you're using it as a primary bone grafting in order to take care of grafts in contained in situations where you do not have a pelvic discontinuity, right? But if there is a pelvic discontinuity, you should use a spanning fixation.
Yes.
So your graft will not help you in a pelvic discontinuity. And the other thing, Ashish, which I would like to, there's a screw called as a kickstand screw, right? In cases which are difficult cases, even if you're using a typical, I don't know which cup you have used, but even if you're using a typical metal cup, now the recommendation is that you should put a screw in the ischium. Because the mechanism of failure later on in a year or so is the cup starts moving up, and it fails.
Yes.
It doesn't get osteointegrated, and this would be prevented if you put a screw down in the ischium. In fact, some people even put it in the pubis.
Pubis, yes.
Yeah, so it gives you anchored below, so your cup doesn't become vertical and doesn't fail.
Over time. Yes.
Yeah, in these complex cases. Anyway, it's a very nice work. You should publish it. This
It's
is
already accepted in one of the journals.
Yeah.
Only I'm waiting for mechanical studies. It's being done at Netherlands.
Okay. Right. Good.